Today on the MWHS Wildcat News. Advanced Placement Chemistry students visited Gretchen Reeder Elementary School to demonstrate different Halloween-themed science experiments for 4th graders. Alexis Behensky and I give you the inside scoop. Millard West held one of its 2 craft fairs where people come from all around to buy or sell different products. Tenley Wright and Emma Baker find out it may have set an attendance record, and they figure out how the baseball team contributed to the event. As Day of the Dead was approaching last week, Spanish teacher Samantha Ballard's Spanish 2 class was tasked with making ofrendas. Annalise Somali and Chloe Parker learn more about this special project. Millard West's French Week has been going on for the past few days. Connor Robb and Jordan Bakar talked to students involved with the French Club to figure out more about the activities that they have been completing all week long. The football team has been preparing all week for their playoff matchup against Elkhorn South later tonight. Garrett Wilcoxon and Joseph Ebmere talked with the team to preview the game. This and more on the MWHS Wildcat News. Welcome back, Wildcats, to this week's edition of the MWHS Wildcat News. Today is November 8th, and I'm your host, Edison Geiler.
I'm Bailey Christensen, filling in for Caitlin Willard this week as she's sick. Nonetheless, we have a great batch of stories, starting off with Lunar Elementary.
Science teacher Cheryl Vonacek's AP Chemistry class journeyed to the elementary school to perform a variety of science experiments for 4th graders. Alexis Behensky and I also journeyed to the school to see what the experiments were all about. On November 1st, science teacher Cheryl Vonacek's Advanced Placement Chemistry class visited Gretchen Reeder Elementary School during first block. There, they performed a variety of Halloween-themed chemistry demonstrations for 4th grade classes.
I love the interaction between the older students and that they have an opportunity to see what they have coming up for their future, not only at Millard West, but at any Millard school that they can go to, that it's an advanced college course. They can see that there's many opportunities for them to grow and learn for their future.
The experiments were of wide variety, from a pumpkin exploding to mixing substances to create new colors. Each were designed to be simple, following a Halloween-themed script that connected all of them together, so none of the 4th grade students would become overwhelmed or confused.
With the experiments, we try to use some simple experiments. We try to simple it down so that it kind of was easier to follow for the elementary kids. We didn't try to do anything complex or complicated when it comes to math. We try to use some visually appealing experiments, and that was pretty much how the presentation went.
Although the AP Chem demonstrators were much older than the audience, 4th grade students were still able to have fun with the experience while also learning new science concepts. After the demonstrations, the 4th graders were allowed to ask any questions and were able to create slime with the chemistry students.
I liked when the pumpkin puked out the soap and the chemicals. I thought the pumpkin was gonna blow up or something, and then when it started coming out, my face kind of went oh my gosh, because I was really surprised.
This idea originally stemmed from Vonacek's involvement with Upchurch Elementary, where her children went to school. After they graduated, she wanted to continue these demonstrations with a Millard West pipeline school.
I have my own children, and when my oldest son was in 4th grade, I asked the 4th grade teacher at his school, Upchurch, if he'd like to have us come down to his room and do some demos. And it's just nice to have a little story that goes along with it, and these are some of the easy demos that we do for chem students anyway.
In addition to teaching the 4th grade classes about chemistry, the event was also an opportunity for them to interact with older students.
I think it's huge for them to see role models and examples and peer models that are doing excellent things that can give them opportunities to grow and dream and do what they want to do in the future.
Both Vonacek and Wolf hope to continue these chemistry demonstrations at Reeder for the foreseeable future. Alexis Behensky and Edison Geiler, signing off.
Millard West has 2 craft fairs every year, one being in the fall and one in the spring. They most recently had their fall craft fair, which set an attendance record.
Many people all around the Omaha area come to our school in order to buy and sell crafts or simply peruse around the environment that spreads all the way from the commons to most of the gym. Staff reporters Tenley Wright and Emma Baker attended the event to find out what makes this event so special.
On Saturday, November 2nd, the Millard West baseball team held their 25th annual Fall Craft Fair. 230 vendors welcomed thousands of eager shoppers from 9 to 4. That buying and selling of unique handcrafted products has helped the team tremendously throughout the years.
So this is our biggest fundraiser along with our Spring Craft Fair, and all of the money that we raise goes to our summer baseball program, and so it's huge. It funds a large majority of our summer program.
To get the craft fair up and running, they rely on the help of baseball parents, coaches, and players.
Well, we help the crafters bring all their stuff in. We move all the tables. The parents volunteer a lot and do a lot for the stickers on the ground to help us set up and pretty much all that, set up and take down.
The vendors undertake a lot of preparation as well to ensure a successful showing.
As far as building product, I'm working in the garage after school generally all year, or like after I get off my actual job. I'm in the garage helping my dad and my mom, taking vinyl off, painting, staining, all of that. So it's an all year thing really.
In the end, it's all worth it. Brooklyn Stasham, owner of Cake on a Stick, says the craft fair has helped pay for nursing school, and like other vendors, it has expanded her customer base.
It brings a lot of publicity to Cake on a Stick. I started it really just by word of mouth and by family and friends. So being here and getting some sort of random people to know my business is they tell their friends. So it's been a big publicity thing.
There is no doubt that the craft fair attendees have as good a time as the crafters. For some, it is a bi-yearly tradition.
I love just seeing all the creativity and all the cool stuff you can buy. I also really like the signs you can put up on doors. I think they're really cool.
Craft fair attendance continues to amaze as the numbers seem to grow each year.
In the spring, we set an attendance record of 3,500, but from everyone's comments and the fact that our parking lots are completely sold and closed down, I'm going to say we could be close to setting maybe an attendance record.
If you missed this craft fair, make sure to stop by the next one this spring to show your support for the baseball team and have some fun. This has been Emma Baker and Tenley Wright for the MWHS Wildcat News.
As Halloween was approaching last week, so was another Spanish holiday. Spanish teacher Samantha Ballard's Spanish 2 class was tasked with creating a special project, making ofrendas for iconic Mexican/Hispanic figures.
The students were challenged with making the ofrendas specific to each person. Staff reporters Chloe Parker and Annalise Somali bring you the news.
During the week of October 28th through November 1st, Mrs. Ballard's Spanish 2 class got the opportunity to make their own ofrendas celebrating the life of a famous deceased Spanish icon.
This week we are doing a lot of preparation for Dia de los Muertos, which is happening, it kind of starts October 31st, but our main days are November 1st and 2nd. And so students spent last week investigating famous deceased Hispanics, and they are creating an ofrenda, which is an altar, and they are creating an ofrenda that represents that person. So you have to be able to look at the ofrenda and look at it and see, you can tell everything about that person. What were their favorite things? What were their roles, their responsibilities? What were they passionate about?
In order to successfully complete the ofrenda, students were required to have certain components that would all be found on traditional ofrendas.
We have to have candles, a arc to show the passing, the transition between life and death with flowers on it, and you need to have skulls and a pan El Dia, which is Bread of the Dead.
At the beginning of the week, the students were each given a list of famous artists, YouTubers, athletes, dictators, and more. They chose their top 3, and then one by one, they went up and chose their top picks.
Talia, she had cancer and died. She was a YouTube sensation and showed her skills off with makeup.
Fidel Castro is a pretty well-known dictator in Cuba. For quite a while, he was known a lot for being a dictator and not being the most well-liked guy.
One of the main focuses during Day of the Dead are the various skulls placed in and outside the ofrendas. They are painted with bright colors and help represent and celebrate deceased ancestors.
A calavera, which is a skull, and oftentimes the whole thing is that they're not supposed to be scary, and that's the biggest misconception with Day of the Dead, is that people confuse it with Halloween because of this skull presence, and it's not that at all. You might have noticed the skulls that are involved in the ofrendas have bright colors on them, and so the whole idea with the calavera is just to kind of bring the life back to the death and kind of remind us that, you know, we all have lives to live and celebrate, and even though death can be sad, it's a part of this natural life process, and let's honor the life that was lived in joy and in happiness and in celebration.
These vibrant and colorful ofrendas will be on display in room 160 and can be seen with or without the lights on. Signing off of the MWHS Wildcat News, this has been Annalise Smalley and Chloe Parker. Adios!
At Millard West, it is currently French Week. The French Club has been preparing all sorts of activities, including trivia each day.
Staff reporters Connor Robb and Jordan Bacard covered the events that happened this week.
For the second consecutive year, French students who are currently enrolled in a French course have been working diligently on various arts and crafts to commemorate French culture this past week.
So one of the activities we did was we made pictures of famous paintings, and we had to recreate them. And we made a bunch of artwork for the hallways.
Some of the arts and crafts were inspired by various aspects of the French culture. They incorporated cultural aspects into numerous arts and crafts displayed all over the school.
Made a map with some strings attached to it that show like other Francophone countries in the world. We've put up some inventors in the science wing of like French inventions that people have brought about. We've created a big field of lavender in one of the English hallways, not for any specific English reason, but just because it's a shorter hallway that we can make it happen with.
The activities and projects that are placed throughout the school have given curious students the understanding of a true state and diverse culture France really has to offer.
It's just shown me a whole new different world and customs and cultures I never would have known about if I hadn't done this.
The students who participated or gave aid during French Week have put a great deal of work and a lengthy amount of time to make this week possible, even staying a few hours after school on many occasions.
The preparation process is long and crazy. We've been working on some of this stuff in French Club for a good month and a half, and I've been meeting with the French Club presidents way before that to list it all out and see, okay, what's the timeline, how can we get this finished, and then all last week, all of the French students in my class and Madam McGrath's classes worked on the things for French Week as well. So it's been quite the process.
This has been
Connor Robb
and Jordan Bacard with the MWHS Wildcat News.
After last week's 34-0 victory against Lincoln Pius, the Millard West football team is looking forward to their next playoff game against Elkhorn South.
Staff reporters Joseph Ebmere and Garrett Wilcoxon talked to both players and coaches to pick their brains about how they think this game will go.
The Millard West varsity football team ended the regular season 9-0 and are now in the playoffs with one win. We got a chance to talk to some of them about their upcoming game against Elkhorn South.
I think last game we kind of came out a little flat, didn't have very much energy to start. And then over like this week we kind of just worked really hard to practice and knew we have to have a lot of energy and come out quick.
The team has grown a lot throughout the season. They have gotten much closer as a group, and their chemistry has led to great things on the field. Some of the players elaborated on their teammates.
As a team, I feel like we've all became a lot better friends, kind of created a better bond in between everybody, which reflects onto the field and how we play.
The team feels like they played a good game last week, but believes there are some things that they could improve on.
You know, we made some mental mistakes, but, you know, we realized it, and now we, actually focus and practice, and we tried.
There's always stuff to improve on. I think one thing is kind of just executing the called plays more and kind of just focusing on that. There were some times where one guy wouldn't get blocked or one guy would have bad footwork or something, and I think just making sure we can all fix all that.
Millard West will face off against Elkhorn South at Buell Stadium. This gives Millard West a home field advantage, something that the players feel is very valuable.
Being at Buell, we've never lost at Buell. I don't think in the past 2 years we've ever lost at Buell. So it really helps with the environment. having our student section there makes it electric and really hypes up all the players on the field.
This has been Garrett Wilcoxon and
Joe Edmeyer
signing off from the MWHS Wildcat News.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of the MWHS Wildcat News.
For updates on our latest story, visit our Twitter at MWHS Catalyst and our Instagram at MWHS.Catalyst. For even more stories, visit our website at www.millardwestcatalyst.com.
We hope to see you soon.
See you later, Wildcats.